Hello everybody, and welcome to today's webinar from Site Tuners, Live Reviews with Tim Ash. We say this might hurt because if you have ever participated in one of Tim's live review sessions, you know Tim has a very no-nonsense way of letting people know where they're frustrating their website visitors and exactly how they can make some changes to improve their conversion rate optimization. So he might not be polite about it, but you will get the point. So my name is Casey Murphy, and I'd like to welcome you. I'm the Director of Marketing here at Site Tuners. I'd like to give you a little idea of what we're doing here and why we do these webinars every month. We do them because our mission here is to influence your website visitors to take the desired action on your website. So whether we're talking about a download or a purchase or a form fill, trying a software demo, whatever your conversion action is, we want to help your visitors do that so you can make more money. And how do I know we can do that? Because we've done it for tons of people. Large companies, small companies. I'm sure you recognize a ton of those brands there. And some of them you don't recognize, but we hope you do soon. How do we do this? Our conversion rate optimization services are usually provided on a monthly ongoing basis where we help people audit their major issues, conversion issues, and identify where their users are stumbling and where there's friction in the path. We help conduct staff training so that your team can develop the skills they need to do this on their own. We help set up A/B and multivariate testing, make sure that you're getting statistically valid results, help you identify what to test and where you're going to get the biggest gains. And of course, we can help create some really awesome conversion-centered website redesigns in landing pages. So give us a call, whether you have a single project or a monthly ongoing need, and we would love to help you out. So here's a little bit about today's expert. If you haven't been in the room with Tim Ash, you are in for a big surprise. Tim is the author of the landing page optimization book, which has really become the Bible in our industry, with more than 50,000 copies sold worldwide in a ton of languages, most of which I can't even read, but you can see them there on the screen. He's also the founder of Conversion Conference, which he chairs, and we've done, I don't know, 20 or something in multiple countries around the globe since 2010. He's, of course, the CEO of Site Tuners, amateur photographer, he's a salsa dancer, he's into this paleo diet thing like nobody's business, and he travels the world telling people about conversion rate optimization. But before I hand this off to Tim, I want to tell you a couple of things because we always get these questions. Yes, we're recording it. So we will send you a link to today's recording. It'll probably come about 4, 5, 6 hours after today's session is over. It takes us a while to get it into a format where everybody can view it no matter what device you're on. We got over 100 URLs submitted at last count for review. We're not going to be able to get through them all, even though Tim does talk pretty fast. But if yours is not included, stay tuned at the end of the webinar for a special offer at the end. You might have the chance to get yours reviewed after all. If you have any questions or problems, want to send us a note, please use the question pane there in the GoToWebinar panel. And if you're a tweeter, you can see some hashtags and handles there on your screen. We'd love to see you out there on Twitter. So with that, let me hand you off to Tim Ash.
Well, thanks very much, Casey. And as Casey mentioned, I love doing these reviews because I love telling you the emperor has no clothes. That's the polite version. But think of it this way. It's going to be a little painful, might take a few dings to your ego, but I want you to learn from the examples of others. As Casey mentioned, we won't be able to get to everybody's pages, but think of it this way. You're learning secondhand. You probably have a lot of these same issues on your website or landing page, so this is kind of a once removed experience for most of you, except the people getting their sites reviewed. For those folks, I apologize in advance, but you're going to get some consulting through insulting. I've chosen a number of different websites from the ones that were submitted, so there should be something in it for everybody. Stick around. As Casey said, I'm going to talk at New York speed, talk very quickly, and we'll try to get through as many of these as we can in the next hour. All right. Well, let's just start here. I'm going to take over the screen and talk about our first submission, which is Platte College. So this is an educational institution, and they're trying to get people to obviously engage with them, and there's a couple of things. This is an educational institution for digital media and design, and I have to say that the page itself is a little bit dated looking to me, and I mean we have some dated-looking websites we've produced over the years. I mean, the standards keep changing, but I guess what I'm saying is you're probably being held to a higher visual standard than most websites since you purport to teach people about that. So other than some examples of your students' work across the top, it's really kind of a pretty bland, boring, gray, industrial-looking page without a lot of design flair. So tip number one is maybe get one of your students or graduates to help you with a facelift of the site. The other thing that seems like to me that this is pretty much a direct response landing page. You want me to fill out the form, but basically there are three things I can do here. I can look at pictures across the top. I can read a bunch of text, which is a non-starter. People won't do that. Or I can interact with the form. And the form is, the other thing is it's very generic. Learn more today. Sounds like kind of a vague thing. Learn more about what? What do I get out of filling out that form? Always think about all of your pages with a what's in it for me perspective. Your visitors are asking that. What's in it for me? Learn more. Well, I'm constantly learning. What am I learning about? Learn more about our programs, about financial aid, about the great jobs our graduates have gotten. Whatever kind of your positioning or your take or the benefit of filling out and interacting with that form. And then again, submit. It's a pretty weak call to action. I mean, yeah, we all know that mechanically when you hit a button on a form, it's going to submit the form, but that's actually a pretty geeky, arcane, and technical term without any content or context, rather. So what I suggest you do, usually the button is the fulfillment of the interaction with the form, right? So this page is about Platte College. Learn more about our programs or whatever that case may be by, and tell them how that's going to happen. We'll send you something or we'll get back to you and talk to one of our college experts, and then the button should say what happens when you fill out that form. Schedule my phone appointment, or download my course guide, or whatever is actually going to happen. Submit is too generic. All right. Well, hopefully that was helpful. Let's move on to the folks here at PhotoCutouts.com. Same comment about production quality. To me, the first thing is, we judge a book by its cover. The first impression, this is a pretty weak site. It's pretty dated looking and stark and not really well designed or contained. It has harsh colors like blacks and reds on it, which are not very web safe, or not that they're not web safe, but they're very high contrast, and anything that's not white on the page really jumps out because of the extreme contrast. But also just the production quality. You have this logo just kind of dropped into the sea of whiteness in the upper left, PhotoCutouts.com. It's barely readable. It's not a professionally designed logo. There's websites like Elance or LogoTournament.com where you can go and have a decent logo custom designed for a couple of $100. So that's kind of the minimum cost of entry these days. You can't have a website that's got a logo like that that looks like it was cut and pasted from something else. The other thing, and I'm going to pick on this with other folks as well, so you're not alone, are the rotating banners. What you're trying to do is tell a story, but the way you're telling the story is by using motion, and motion, as I like to say, is the nuclear option. Our reptilian brain is wired to detect motion in the visual scene, so you can't avoid looking at that over and over and over again. Every time that thing flips back and forth between the two frames, you're going to look at it, and it distracts you from looking at the rest of the page. So think of it as a visual hierarchy. Motion trumps graphics. Graphics trump text, unless your text is gigantic and is in effect a graphic. But in the presence of a graphic, I can't read text very well or focus on it. And in the presence of motion, I can't even look at graphics. So it's a very dangerous device unless it's quite intentional to use motion on your page. And you only have 2 frames, and you're trying to tell a linear story, so bouncing back and forth between the two doesn't even make any sense. So what you're saying is, send us a photo, you'll get a life-size cutout. Well, that's great, but that's really easy to do in a picture. You have a photo on the left, a big arrow going over next to it, and a life-size cutout with a real kid standing next to it. That tells me the story in one picture without resorting to the motion. So be really, really careful with motion. Motion kills. If you want to tweet that, motion kills conversion. But to be fair about it, if the motion is designed to draw attention to your conversion action, that's great. But right here, it's just a way to tell what would be easily told as a visual story in a graphic without motion. It's definitely a distraction from me doing anything else on the site. All right, let's go to our next website, the ACLU. Now, they want you to, I believe the person that submitted this said they want you to donate money on this page. But what we're doing, this is the donate page after all, right? But what I have is a directory on the left-hand side with lots of things to read, and then I have 4 choices: join, renew, monthly gift, donate. It's very hard for me to kind of understand if this is the donate page, that those are all donating. Yeah, I guess if I join the ACLU, I'm going to pay. If I renew, obviously I'm going to pay monthly gift and donate. Definitely I'm going to pay, but in a way that you're giving you money so complicated by making 4 choices that I have to spend a lot of time kind of digesting this page and which of those is right for me. So the donate page should be about primarily donating directly. That's what I think. The monthly gift, that's again a very nuanced part of your business, and the problem is most of us are experts in our business or our organization, and why can't that be under donate? You can have donate, pop up the form, and then it says, oh, do you want to make a one-time gift or a monthly gift? You see what I mean? Then you're taking those 2 things and you're collapsing them into one thing for me to click on at the top level. Then you can ask me a secondary question of how I want to donate. So reducing complexity, each one of those, if they really are, I guess, that self-explanatory, shouldn't require a sentence of text underneath them. So in a way, it's a fairly simple page, but because of the choice and the amount of text to compare there and to consume, it's actually not as straightforward as it should be. One other thing I encourage all of you to do whenever you have a page on a website is to have a headline, a spanning headline at the top of the body of the page. And that's something that is missing here. This should say, donate to the ACLU, because that's what this is apparently, the donate page, right? So make sure you have a headline and you just assume that they have context, because if they didn't click on the donate link or come from elsewhere in the site, they might have direct landed on this page and they have no context or very little context other than knowing they're on the ACLU website somewhere. Okay, so don't forget your page titles. All right, let's look at Luna Bazaar next. This is our first kind of e-commerce site that we're looking at, and the reason I picked this one, I'm sorry to say, folks at Luna Bazaar, is that you make several of the common e-commerce mistakes. By the way, in my landing page optimization book, I have a whole section on e-commerce best practices. So basically, read that or look at this website and do the opposite. No, I'm just kidding. But let's start with pop-ups. Now, you didn't see this because I had the page preloaded, but when you come to this page, that get your 10% off pop-up comes up. And I know it's fairly common in e-commerce sites. I also know that the #1 reason that people will give you their email on an e-commerce site is to get promotions or announcements about special sales that other people don't have access to, and so on. But still, think about this from a user experience standpoint. Someone comes to your site, oh, they're interrupted on the way in by a pop-up that grays out the page they're trying to get to. So, okay, there's 2 ways to look at that. I guess you could say this is working on the dopamine in our brain and makes us anticipate and want to see the page even more. But if that's the case, we're probably just going to click X on that pop-up and close it up. Worst case scenario, it's an unexpected disruptive surprise, and we're actually thinking, whoa, what happened there? And it's a little bit of a kind of a mental gymnastics we have to go through. Go, oh, okay, that's safe. My reptilian brain doesn't have to worry about survival. I can just dismiss that thing and go look at the website. So one thing that also I want to think about psychologically, those kind of pattern interrupts can be okay if they're used at the right time and place, but I don't think entering a website is the place to pull those. You might do that after I've spent a little time looking at a product detail page. Get 10% off while I'm looking at a product is much more compelling. But think about the psychology of this. Get 10% off, you don't even know if we have anything you want to buy. That's very different psychology. get 10% off of something you're on the hunt for, on the trail for, or looking at, that's in line with my intent, but not interrupt-driven marketing like this. Now, you can test it, and by the way, we have tested it. We've seen some counterintuitive stuff once in a while where, oh, this is generally good, because we know if we get somebody on our mailing list that their average value when we continue to mail them our weekly or daily or monthly promotions is X dollars. Now, but you have to weigh that against the number of people that are bouncing off of this page and not buying on their actual first visit. So if you can do that trade-off and track those things, and you can say this is better, then by all means keep it. But you have to test this stuff, because there is usually a negative, sometimes substantially negative impact on the rest of, on the fact that most people aren't even staying on your site if they're annoyed by this. All right, so having said that, let's click through, and now we're looking at the page itself. I'll just kind of beat the dead horse about rotating banners and stuff, but sometimes even a big static image can be a problem. Because what you have here is, well, this is a rotating banner, but even if this was these were static images, they take over all of the screen real estate. This is on a pretty large monitor. This is HD resolution, 1920 by 1080 or whatever that is. So this is as big an experience as going to get. On a smaller screen, we're going to have something a little more like this, and if you shrink it down, the only thing we see on the page is a giant picture. So when you think about it, you sell a catalog of stuff, and this is especially true if you sell lots of different items. You have a ton of different things. I don't know what you sell unless I sit through this rotating commercial. Or even if it's a static image, it's an image shot, literally, and I don't know what you sell. Your homepage has two purposes. Write this down, tweet it. Your homepage has two purposes. One is to get me to stay, the trust factor. That's important. That's production quality, safety seals, other things like that, indicators of trust. The second thing is it's to give me a map of the world. What is it possible for me to do here? Your homepage should be used primarily for navigation, not as a commercial, not as an image shot. What kinds of things can I get here? Well, guess what? They're up here. They're up here in your nav bar. The problem is if you're counting on me to go up to your nav bar and pull down lighting and look at all of those subcategories, that is not a reasonable expectation. Go look at your web analytics and see how much your nav bar is getting actually even clicked on. Okay, I can tell you right now, I guarantee you it's a really, really small number of people that are using your navigation, because in the presence of beautiful flowers and gift items and motion, again, looking at tiny text that's low contrast near the top of the page is not something that I'm inclined to do. And so when you think about it that way, well, let me put it another way. Your navigation is a last resort. Me using your navigation is only a result of the page body failing me. Your page body failed. I'm forced to understand your whole set of options at the top, pull one down, understand all the sub-options, and hopefully find that useful. That's a big investment of my rational mind. You may not think so because you're an expert at your site, but think of it this way. I'm not even going to do that if I can avoid it. Okay, so a lot of your navigation here also has too many options, another very, very common thing. So with your category tree, you've gone kind of wide and bushy, if you will. It's much better to have fewer options and go deeper, have another level of categories, subcategories, sub-subcategories that gets me quickly with a couple of clicks to something that I find useful. But for me, just to read that long list right there under decorative accents and understand all my options is again, a big investment of my time and attention. And tweet this: we live in an attention economy. We live in an attention economy. The most precious thing you can ask me to do is pay attention. I have money, I have everything in the world, but I don't have leisure time. Okay, now so let's look down the page, because this is, again, going to be instructive for all the e-commerce folks on the webinar. What do we have next? We have bestsellers. What's a bestseller? That's really a guess at what I might want. Then you have trends, which is just, again, things you're trying to push on me. And then you have the wedding boutique and the destination weddings and other things. So why don't you put your permanent categories, which is what I really care about, and put them right here above the fold at the top of the page. This should be more of a tile-like navigation with your high-level categories. Never show me individual products, and never show me, you could have one category that's maybe feature stuff or new, but even that should only be there if I'm coming back very often. If you don't have a reasonable expectation that your people are coming back once a week, then you really shouldn't even have new as a top-level category. Because within each category you can feature new stuff or sales stuff, but as a top-level nav item, when you have about 10 different nav items at the top of your page, that's not really okay. All right, well, let's go on and move to our next site. We have Idea Health and Fitness Association, and obviously it looks like you want somebody to sign up for a 30-day free trial membership. That's a worthwhile goal if you have any kind of association or anything like that. Okay, here's my problem. Well, I have several, but let's start with this. What is the headline of this page say? Activate your 30-day free trial membership. And what's underlined? Free trial. And what does it say at the upper left? It says, try risk-free. All this stuff is telling me it's free, no risk, right? I look down the page, and unfortunately that doesn't agree at all with all of those different options that I have. So there's a major, major disconnect. If this is really trying to get me to do a free trial, it should be talking all about the free trial. It shouldn't talk to me about what happens after the free trial, which is you expect me to start billing me monthly or annually or however you do it. The point is that there's a disconnect when the subject of the page is a trial offer and you're talking about which of these 5 amounts would you like me to pay? That doesn't make sense at all. Okay, so what you should do is focus completely on the free trial. Stay on my intent. Again, tweet this. The #1 driver of conversion is matching your visitor's intent. So if they got to this page with the expectation of trying it for free, that's what the page should be focused on. Okay, you don't switch context on me and say, oh, pick a plan. Well, because that's required because we're going to auto-bill your credit card at the end of your free trial. You may, in fact, even do that, and I'm not even saying don't change your business model, although you should consider that. But one of the things that you can do is get me into the trial sign-up process and then say, okay, after your trial's expired, we're going to put you in one of these plans, pick one. We're going to default you to the cheapest one, but if you want to upgrade to a better one, you certainly have that option. Okay. Now think about the psychology of that. I've already invested in the free trial. This page told me about why the benefits I'm going to get out of the free trial, and then after I've invested in signing up for that, then it's kind of like, oh, we'll auto bill you, but you can cancel any time. If you cancel during the 30 days of the free trial, we won't charge your card at all. Great. Okay. In that context, I'm much more receptive to it. But instead, you have me in effect switch context, switch tasks, and consume this massive table of information. Think about that. You have too much choice. You have 5 plans, and they're premium access, business, personal trainer, mind, body, group fitness. I don't really know which of those necessarily is right for me. I have to wrestle with them. I have to look through this very analytical checklist of stuff. Yeah, no, I get it that the ones that cost more have more green check marks in the table. I get that. Okay, but those are all really specific. Discount on insurance, pro form bundle, as if I knew what that is. Idea, trainer success. Again, it's good that you have those explanatory little question marks next to each of the things at the table. But again, this is you have to be a very determined, focused person that's willing to devote undivided attention to try to wrestle with those 5 plans. And so isn't it easier if you actually instead of, and you do repeat the call to action at the bottom, but again, you kind of switch the task from free trial to pick a plan, and the pick a plan is anything but easy. So maybe you should say, hey, find the right trial for me. When you have a complicated decision with lots of options and lots of kind of mutually constraining things on the options, you're often better off using a wizard. Hey, let us customize the experience for you. Doesn't that sound better than pick a plan? Yeah, oh, do you teach any group classes? Do you own your own gym? By answering 2, 3, 4 simple questions, you say, oh, okay, great, this is the plan for you. Let's start a free trial of it. And then, again, you can bill me in the middle of that process or tell me or make me aware that you're going to bill me. But instead of this forced choice in digesting these 5 things, you could just guide me to the right answer with some simple questions via Lightbox popover sequence. All right, well, hopefully that was helpful. Here is, I guess so, another fitness-related website. Empower 3 meets club goals. And I forget the exact call to action that they want you to take, but I would just challenge you guys to know, what are you supposed to do here? Despite the fact that there's only one button to push on this page, I'm unclear about what to do. There's text, there's a picture of some very toned bellies over there on the left, and then there's a green button that says, yes, I want to jumpstart my fitness. Well, yeah, here's how I can do that. I can go to the gym. I can start walking more. I could stop eating crap junk food. I could watch an exercise video. You know, all of the above. What does it mean to jumpstart my fitness? Without context, think about if you just land on this page, we have Empower 3 meets Club Globals, 21-day fitness challenge, and then jumpstart my fitness. So you're already so deep in your own product or offer or whatever it is that if you just look at this as a naive visitor, which I certainly am naive, you don't really get the point of it, because it's really something that you're expecting someone. Here's I guess the takeaway from this that many of you suffer from. You expect someone to read and digest all of this text and before they can interact with your button or take you up on your offer. The button itself, without that context of having digested that text, is meaningless, and that's my point. So I glance at the page, I want to know the headline, I want to know the reason to press that button, and they have to align. And maybe not a standing broad jump. Maybe it's a watch this video first or read all the other stuff, which is at the bottom of the page. And yes, you have a quote-unquote responsive website, and you can scroll down and see all this other stuff. But you know what? I didn't do that before I pressed that button. I wasn't even aware in many cases that information was there, especially if this is on a mobile device. And if the founder, the CEO, is kind of the face of your company, why is she at the bottom? And you do have a repeated call to action, but it changes. What was it at the top? Is yes, I want to just jumpstart my fitness. Here it's yes, I want to get fit. A different thing. I'm wondering if is that the same thing that's going to happen when I push that button. So the button has to be much more functional and descriptive and tell me exactly what's going to happen when I put it. And you have to stay consistent with that. All right, let's go on to our next one. CDW, rather large company, sells a lot of high-tech stuff, hardware, software, everything, and it suffers from something that is very much a common thing. Again, we've seen that rotating banner. Okay, have I been unclear about this, folks? Many of you have the same problem. Get rid of your rotating banner. Use that screen real estate for something. Anything, by the way, almost anything is more useful than what you have, even if it's just pushing the stuff that's below it into that spot, okay? Because it's a giant distraction and a waste of space, and I'm sorry if you think your site's boring without it, but it's doing more harm than good. Promise you. Every test we've done, any static content pretty much beats a rotating banner ad that no one's looking at. Okay, but since you do have a large company, you serve lots of different constituencies, there's really kind of two ways that there's not a single way that I'm going to enter into the site. And I have something that I like that you're kind of starting to do here in this left-hand small text column, which can't possibly compete with all the graphics or the text. It says, what kind of business are you? Are you a startup, small business, legal, nonprofit, financial services, retail, and so on, or government? So what you're saying, what that is role-based navigation. So I'm going to raise my hand and self-select and say, hey, I'm one of these people. I'm a small business, or I'm in financial services. So that should be kind of the cornerstone of. Otherwise, right? What is your banner ad doing? It's just guessing at what I might want. And guess what? Most of that stuff is going to be irrelevant to many of the categories of people coming to the site. So what you have to do is get me off of the home page. Like I said, the purpose of your home page is to give me a map of the world and navigation. And so get me as quickly as you can to relevant, targeted content. If I get to, presumably if I click on the small business link here, I'm going to end up on a page that talks all about small business stuff. Great. Isn't that already the most relevant experience I can have? Do I care about the stuff you have, do I care about the fact that you have stuff for government or financial services? Well, not really at all, okay? Now, again, here you have a giant waste of space with that big picture at the top. You'll have to rethink that. But the point is this page is much more relevant. I get that it's for small business. And you want to take your visitors as quickly as you can from the state of confusion or what is this site about to, oh, this is really relevant for me. Oh, I'm going down the right path. Oh, this is getting even more relevant. Yeah, this is right on. This is on target. This is what I was looking for. So take them out of the state of confusion, which is otherwise known as your homepage, and just use the homepage for role-based self-selected navigation. Just say, who are you? And then once you go down that path, then you can have a much more targeted conversation with me. So that's definitely the biggest thing that you can do for me as a visitor, especially when you have lots and lots of different constituencies. And again, even on this page, though, you're starting to go with featured products. I want to expand on this idea because you were talking about guessing at what people have instead of actually helping them. So now you know I'm a small business. Guess what? A restaurant owner doesn't think he's the same kind of small business as an architect or an accountant or someone offering professional services, right? So say, hey, are you retail? Are you food and beverage? Are you professional services? Are you construction and manufacturing? Even small businesses want to have more specialization. If you know I'm a small business and I'm a restaurant, then you're probably going to be offering me point of sale systems or other kinds of stuff, or if you know I'm a restaurant or a bar, you'll probably try to something to control the video on those flat screen TVs. I mean, there's a lot of featured products. It's almost like you can anticipate the needs if you can envision the end client. If I'm a law office, guess what? I really care about my wireless connections being secure and people not being able to eavesdrop on me and the confidential client storage of my documents. I have a completely different set of concerns, okay? And you can anticipate those. And you see how much more relevant thinking about that in advance is, and you know what your most popular sectors are, the kind of business is buying from you. So make me feel welcome. Role-based, user-centered design. Who are you? And that might be 2 levels of who are you. And that's okay if those first couple of levels are just navigation. Don't even start talking to me until you're having the right conversation with me. Tweet that. Don't start talking to me until you're ready to have the right conversation. All right, hopefully that was helpful. Let's go next to Fair Compare. And this was a geolocated page for Las Vegas flights. So if I look at this page, it has at the top a generic search form. Enter your flight options. Now, the good news is you've pre-selected to Las Vegas because you understand that I'm not in Las Vegas, and this is your Las Vegas page here at the top. We know that from it. So again, I would say the first thing what you have to do is establish that this is relevant for me. So this is not just Expedia or Travelocity, okay? In general on their homepage. This is a page about cheap flights to Las Vegas. Isn't that why I'm there? I mean, look, we view our travel as a commodity. That's why there's all kinds of comparison sites. The name of your business is Fair Compare. So this tiny little text right here in the middle of the page is the most important thing in terms of orienting me. That text right there, it says cheap flights to Las Vegas, should be the page title. And it should be large. It should be the largest text on the page. Okay. Now, you do have a generic kind of search form, and you did pre-fill to Las Vegas, again, realizing I'm not from Las Vegas. But by the way, you have to work a little better in your geolocation. I'm in San Diego, in North County, San Diego. There's a very small airport called Palomar Airport, really for little puddle jumpers and local planes. So, San Diego International Airport, Lindbergh Field, that's the one I would expect. So if there's a regional airport, give that second thrift, unless you have really accurate geo-targeting, to the national airport nearby. Always choose the national one, because you're more likely to have me fly out from there. And I'm actually closer to San Diego International than I am to Palomar, so again, not sure what's going on with the geo-targeting. But my main point about the form is it's a generic form, and you can pre-fill it, and you can help me in this context, but it's not just back to find flights faster, which is the title of that blue area at the top. It's really about find flights to Las Vegas, or find Las Vegas flights, if you're not sure which end of it I'm on. Okay. And that's what that form is about. So I wouldn't have it span the whole top. I'd shove it over to one direction or the other, and then have that Las Vegas information that you have further down the page. And by the way, you have a lot of good stuff there. Popular flights to Vegas. Okay, where are you flying from? Best deals are from San Francisco is $58. From LA, it's $82, and so on. And then lower down on the page, you also have international flights. Cheap domestic flights to Las Vegas. You also have international flights to Las Vegas, and whatever you're going to give me in those areas, I want to know at least that those are available. So this page relies largely on scrolling, and I would say that what you really need to do is have all of those links at the top. Popular places to go to Las Vegas from, you have to paraphrase this, popular places to go from Las Vegas to domestic, international, those are all meaningful distinctions, and you want to make sure that I know that they're available. With this setup, I'm required to scroll down past the generic form, which, by the way, I can get on any travel website. That's not really value add. If you really fair compare and you're telling me you'll get me a better deal, in effect, then you need to show me some actual deals. And pretty much, if you know I'm not from Las Vegas, geo-targeting me is good. So at the heart of this is an accurate geo-targeting experience. If I'm in San Diego at the moment, it's unlikely that I'll want to fly to Las Vegas from San Francisco. So I really want to see San Diego deals, or the top 3 cheapest ones from San Diego, and so on. All right, let's continue on. We have a little bit of a different example here next. This is Samsung, and this is the goal of this page is actually not to get me to buy a phone. It's to get me to sign up for the Samsung developer program. They're trying to recruit people that will design, I assume, applications for their operating system and their phones. By the way, you guys rock it. I have a Note 3. I love you. All the Apple true believers are drinking the Kool-Aid. You have a much better product. It's been out for 3 years and just as good as the new Apple 6S Plus, or whatever it's called. There you go. That was an uncompensated commercial for Samsung. Love you guys. Okay, now, back to this. The point of this is to get somebody to sign up for your Enterprise Alliance program. Unfortunately, this is a very, 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 very corporate-looking site. The people signing up are individuals. They're developers. Okay, they're usually smaller companies doing app development. This looks really, really boring and corporate, and I'm sure you have brand guidelines, quote unquote, that are very detailed about what can be on your corporate site. But what you have is a picture of your phone. That could be the homepage of a Best Buy featuring the new Samsung phone. You're not selling phones. I get that you're Samsung phones, and that can be represented differently. But what you also have on that page is a bunch of generic stock photography, or as I like to call it, business porn. Generic stock photography is business porn. It's useless. People will look at it. You think you needed to dress it up. But think about the purpose of this page. The purpose is to get me to sign up for your program, not to see gray-haired dude shaking hands with brown-haired dude, or see cute little 3D graphics of people sitting in desks around the symbol of your developer program. That doesn't tell me webinar, by the way. It's just kind of distracting visual embellishments. It's making your page baroque and busy. Of course, you have motion on the page, which is also a bad thing. Under new partners, you have rotating frames. Under solution videos, you have rotating frames. You have 2 sets of commercials going side by side. So where do I even look on this page is a great question to start with. So what you say is Samsung Enterprise Alliance Program. Who's it for? Tell me. Samsung is committed to creating an ecosystem that supports partners in developing successful relationships and providing the best customer experience for enterprises. I mean, seriously, who wrote that? You're marketing people, and they're writing it in marketees, and it's just content-free fluff. You know, it's all about us, and we're great, and we're building this ecosystem. The point of this is recruitment, so make it about me. What's in it for you if you join our program? Early notifications about, you know, product features, test bed software that allows you to simulate new models before they're even out. Some level of technical support from the people that are designing our operating system. Whatever those benefits are, right? The badge that says, free testing of your software to make sure it's Samsung certified, and a badge that says that you can use on your website and your applications, right? And then, yes, social proof is important. We have lots of partners. I don't think the best way to get that across is by flipping through 3 at a time, 4 frames of them. In fact, I want to know how many partners you have and what types of partners they are, okay? And I want to know that my peers are already doing it. So that makes me more likely to do it, especially my competitors. If that's my competitor is already part of your program, I'm like, uh-oh, I'm missing out. Fear of missing out. And, what happens when they take all my market share? Those are bad things. So you have to make this much more from the psychology of the people visiting your site. This is again a very common thread. What's in it for me? There's not a lot of what's in it for me here. It's a grab bag of various stuff decorated with pictures and motion. So are there different categories of devices I can design for? Are there different types of applications that you want me to design for? Show me the breadth of what's possible, get me down again to a more relevant subpage. And then my most important question, you say you want people to sign up here. Where do I sign up? This is also kind of seems obvious, but a lot of you submitted your URLs, and we looked through all of them, and you said this is the action we want someone to take on the page. In this case, again, sign up for this program. Where is the actual response mechanism? Where is the call to action? How do I sign up? If that's not obvious, and that's, according to you, the main purpose of this page and why it exists, that's a major issue. So, sometimes the call to action is too obvious, as in, do this or go away. It shouldn't be that blatant, with no wind-up. But if you do have good supporting information, at least make it obvious what the actual next step is or what you want me to do. Fill out the form. Where is it? I don't know. Can't find one exactly. See, there's videos, there's overviews, there's user guides, there's webinars, there's which devices I use in business, there's who's joined your program, but how do I join it? I'm looking, folks. Maybe I'm being my extra dorky self today, but I can't find it on this page. Big issue. And if you're saying that, yeah, it's obvious, just scroll down or something, it's in the footer, well, that's not a good solution either. All right, still love your products. Let's move on. Our first Canadian company, creditnow.ca. Welcome, eh? We have a maple leaf. When we have the little pop-up that you're going to see come up on the lower left here, you see the little maple leaf. Although even though your brand color is yellow, oh, I see, it's in your logo as well up here in the upper left. So Credit Now, okay, I get that you're Canadian. That's really good. What are you all looking at on this page? Is it the form? No, it's not the form. It's the cute kid. That kid is adorable. We're very social creatures. Our brains are wired for interaction. We have the largest kind of tribal group size of any animal, and that's because, well, I don't mean herds of, but I mean actual people that we have close ties to, and there's a very, very strong evidence that the reason our quote-unquote reasoning or modern brain evolved was to handle the complexity of those social interactions. In other words, designing microwave ovens and putting people on the moon is a byproduct of that. Okay, the main purpose of it, the default network or the mode your brain, your conscious brain thinks in, is in social relationships. So when we see people, we pay attention. Even when we see pictures of people on a website, our brain doesn't know that's not a person. So when there's a person in the scene, we're going to look at them because they're a rich source of information. In fact, we have a dedicated part of the brain that's there just to recognize faces. It works twice as fast as our object recognition, kind of general object recognition system, and it's also something that is wired to our emotional kind of likes and dislikes in our mammalian brain. So we will look at people, and we'll also take cues from people. So after looking at that cute boy and registering he's a cute boy, he's not a threat to me, I don't have to do my fight or flight thing, the next thing I'm going to be thinking, wow, where's he looking? Well, you're trying to, maybe, if this was intentional, get him to look at this part, get yours today, and then the squiggly down arrow, but his eyes are actually looking off the page, kind of to the upper left, past where you want the form. The relationship of his eye gaze to the form is wrong. You're looking up and to the left, I guess, towards the headline, then trying to use that snaky yellow arrow to get me to go down to the form. Okay, but why do we need that, three-step polka to get me there? If the kid was looking at the form directly, and if the form actually was a form and was contained in a form outline on a solid background color, then it would stand out really well. Look at those three things near the bottom of the page: get simple, get safe, get smart, whatever they mean, and I understand it. But if you use the yellow background from any of those areas for that form up top, it would pop a lot. And you would need the little tyke to get me to look at the form. Because I'm not sure what, okay, yeah, it's cute, I get it. He's a kid, he's got a steering wheel in his hands, this is for car loans, but last I checked, they weren't letting 2-year-olds drive cars, okay, so it's a bit of a tenuous stretch. It's one thing if you're Michelin, and what they always do in their tire commercials is they have the cute little baby inside the tire, because their positioning is they're not selling you a tire, they're not selling you a hunk of rubber with reinforced, steel belts. They're selling you safety and peace of mind to your family. But getting auto financing does not tie into cute babies, at least in my mind. So I think the kid's a giant distraction. I mean that literally, giant distraction. And I think you need to focus on making your form front and center. You also need to give me a reason to believe, which you do very well. So 20 years experience, over 100 million in approved loans, and you're a good corporate citizen and all of that other trust badges and other things down in that yellow bar that you have just below the form. So that's all important. I want to know that before I start filling out a form. And the other thing is, of course, that I care about is competitive rates. I don't want to overpay for my credit. Money is just a commodity. I don't want to pay a higher interest rate than I have to. So you have to show me that it's competitive. It would be great to have testimonials from people about how easy and quick and wonderful it was to interact with you. And you may even have that deeper in your site somewhere. I'm scrolling down the page here to see the bottom. But it's not readily apparent here on the home page. So again, two purposes of your home page: anti-bounce, or establishing trust, which you kind of do, but too far down the page, and you could do a better job with specific testimonials. And the second thing is, what do you want me to do here? It's really strange that there's a form that says get me approved at the top, and then there are 3 sections at the bottom: get simple, get safe, get smart, that all say apply now, apply now, apply now. Now to me, folks, that's from the Department of Redundancy department, if you get my drift. If you have 3 buttons and they lead to the same place, why do you have 3 buttons? If those are just informational things that you want me to know before I press the button, then they should be ahead of the button up top. You don't need 3 sections for it. All right. I think we have a little more time. We're going to go to the Tiny Habits Academy. And I was told, or when we looked at this spreadsheet for people submitting their websites, that the main intended call to action on this site is to join the master class. Now I'm looking at this page. It says Tiny Habits Academy. Has the most useless headline ever. Welcome to the Tiny Habits Academy. Again, Department of Redundancy Department. You already said that with your logo. I get that you're the Tiny Habits Academy. Adding the word welcome to the front of that doesn't help. You need to tell me what the Tiny Habits Academy is in your headline. What is this site about? So that's a missed opportunity. Okay? How to quickly and easily create positive habits. Right? And again, that's my own piece of wordsmithing it. Your positioning may be different. Your mileage may vary. But the title of your homepage needs to tell me what to describe, what the site does. Teaching you to quickly create positive habits for your clients. Right? The best teaching method for creating or changing habits of your clients. Again, these are just some ideas, but you get the point. That needs to be the headline. Right now you have it in a subheadline, which is much harder to consume. You also have a giant stretchable graphic from edge to edge with distracting, I don't know, out of focus something or others. I don't know if they're leaves or that's a kind of picture of another sprout like in your logo. I suspect that it is. But really, that's visual decoration. And the question I have for you is, do you want me to look to the left or the right of this page and look at that picture? Do you want me to look at the detail, the visual detail in the left and right parts? I would say no. I've seen a lot of these stretch from edge to edge kind of page designs, and if you're using any kind of texture or, God forbid, photography in those background graphics, it's pulling attention away from the text. In fact, you've made your text so hard to consume because you've chosen a light background color of which you have reverse color white text. And it's photographic, so the contrast is changing, makes it very, very hard to read the text. So you actually want me to read that subheadline? You're working very hard to prevent that. All right, so now let's look at the 3 calls to action here, and I'm looking at this. I want to learn about next steps. I want to become a certified coach. I want to work with a specialty coach. All right, well, I like the last 2. I'm not sure who the first one applies to. So, the words, what you've highlighted are the words next step, certified coach, and specialty coach. And I want to just draw your attention to design here because it's a nice, design. It's clean. It goes along with your kind of green, growing, whatever, elegant, natural graphics inside of each of those 3 buttons. I get all that. Problem is, certified coach and specialty coach aren't the point. The words become and work with are the point. I want to become a certified coach. The certified coach part is less important. I want to work with a specialty coach. So there are 2 roles of people showing up, ones that want to become coaches, ones that want to find coaches. You should make that crystal clear. So by highlighting the word certified coach and specialty coach, you're not doing that. All right, we also have this motion on the bottom, and you have a bunch of little client testimonials, how you've chosen to display them. I don't know if you see those cycling through. It looks like you have about a dozen of them. So as I'm trying to consume the top of the page, I get these little round circles with people's heads popping up with testimonials. Testimonials are important. I bet you guys have some good, if I go to your About section, I can find out, and, hopefully, you have testimonial, well, you have about the founders. Hey, that's kind of important since I'm buying your system. I want to know who you are, right? And by the way, I know BJ, he's a fantastically smart person and the keynote at our San Francisco Conversion Conference, so shout out to BJ. Linda, I understand you're his sister, so welcome to my webinar. I hope I'm not being too hard on you. But you need to have the people behind that Tiny Habits Academy. Right? Who are they? Why are they credible? Why does this? What's the story of this method? Why does this work? Right? How many people have gone through this training? How many certified coaches are there? Can I see some of the certified coaches? Again, is there a directory of them? You have kind of a meet the coaches, but all of those things that you have in the navigation should be in the body of the homepage. At least links to them or mentions of them. Don't count, as I mentioned earlier, in the e-commerce context, people to actually use your navigation. And the homepage should be a map of the world and for navigation, so repeat the things in your top nav bar in the body of your page. I think that's really, really important. All right. Let's talk about our next website here. Eibach, and this is you want basically for me to understand how these high-performance suspension off-roading parts can help and presumably to buy. Well, let's start with a couple of things. We talked about the distracting images Now, let's say I'm a Jeep guy. Jeep guys are very particular. We worked with Jeep specialty aftermarket websites, Morris 4x4. Jeep people are their own folks. They care only about Jeeps. Guess what they don't care about, most likely? Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s stock car racing car picture in the background. Stock car racing and off-roading, those are different tribes. And so there, right there, now in addition to being a visual distraction on the sides of the page, you're also kind of going against the fact that you are serving very niche markets. I think this page is powerful because it focuses on Jeep, because it focuses on off-roading in Jeeps. Okay, and you kind of countermand that or confuse it by having a different message. You know, this is about, you know, high-performance racing. That, yeah, I know you sell stuff for that as well, but don't talk to me about that even in the literally in the background on the page about Jeeps. All right, it's because, as you can see, performance versus motorsport. I'm not sure what power sport is. Okay, well, I guess that's different kinds of other vehicles. This is cars and this is non-cars, I assume. And the blog, okay, I get that. So the main distinction is performance and motorsports. So don't, you know, it may be in the performance part of the site, and by that I assume you mean all this all-terrain stuff. You should have a different picture. And on the motorsport side of the house, that's where you put the racetrack pictures, because that's where I care about the racing. Okay. Now, one thing is you have a lot of text on this page. You also have demonstrating videos. It all really begins with my model, doesn't it? And if this is just for a particular model already, probably you want to make sure that it's the right model. And so it says all-terrain lift, but it doesn't necessarily talk about the model. There's lots of Jeep models. I want to make sure that this works for mine. So if this is really at the bottom of the page here, we only have the ability to purchase stuff for a 2007 through 14 Jeep Wrangler. That's my understanding of what this page is about. Then talk about that in the page title. Getting you know, maximum performance out of your 2007 through 14 Jeep Wrangler. That's the page title. Now I feel at home. Okay. You've also presented this. These again, it looks like two different products, the level kit and the lift kit, and then you have them in two configurations, 2-door, 4-door. Why don't you, what you should be talking about at the top level is what is the point of a level kit versus a lift kit? You know, maybe they're obvious to your audience, maybe they're not, but maybe I'm deciding which one I need. So that would be a useful discussion at the top of the page. What are you looking for, and which one is right for you? Oh, okay, well, lift kits are for people that want to do this. Level kits are more for people that want to do that. Okay, and then when you go to buy it, you're already on a sub-page that's talking about only the lift kit or the level kit, and then you're talking about, there's really no distinction other than what kind of car it fits on. Do you have a 4-door or a 2-door? That's an obvious one. Buy the 2-door kit, buy the 4-door kit, just 2 buttons. You don't need to make it a table, because the only things that change are which kind of kit I'm getting and the number of doors on my vehicle. All right, we have one more quick website. This is for downloading, I guess, a planning app, AllCal. And again, I see this kind of design all over the place. You're obviously a mobile app developer, so it's this stretchable kind of single-column scrolling page. You have on it a phone with calendars. One of my big issues, besides the distracting background graphic, is what am I supposed to do on this page? Just in this visual field alone, there are 4 buttons. Check it out, view all events, go to the web app, download the iPhone app. Well, those are kind of clustered around the page. A couple of them are saturated, have different colors. A couple of them are black and white or fairly monochrome against whatever background color. Prioritize, folks. You can't really have 4 buttons. If you have 4 buttons, you should be thinking, what shouldn't be a button? Okay, what can be a text link instead? So one final word, if you have lots of choices on your page, you need to prioritize them for me. All right, well, I'm afraid that we are out of time. I thank all of you for listening in. Hopefully this was helpful. There's one thing I want to leave you with, and that is if we didn't get to your site, I know a lot of you are still submitting sites through the question pane of the webinar, we will actually be glad to do a 15-minute mini review of your site without the public shaming. All you need to do, this has to be scheduled by the 22nd, so pretty much right away. We only do the first 5 of these, so I would suggest that you take advantage of this right now, even before you get off the webinar. Go to bit.ly CRO review, bit.ly CRO review, as you see there. Also, if you want to drink from the fire hose and learn a ton about conversion, those of you who are not familiar, we only have one U.S.-based, unlike 3 in the past, one U.S.-based conversion conference for 2015. It's in Las Vegas at the Rio. It's going to be a standalone, our biggest show ever. We have over 400 people signed up already, and we have a special code just for the folks on this webinar. So if you register, you'll save $100 off if you use the promo code HURT16. Again, that's HURT16. It's at the bottom. Jot it down. Just go to conversionconference.com and check out our agenda. We have such a world-class lineup of over 40 top speakers. All right. Well, I want to thank you all for joining us on this webinar, and we'll see you again on our next one. You should be getting an email about it. As Casey mentioned, we'll also be sending the recording of this webinar so you can listen in or share it with others. And thanks again, and have a wonderful rest of your work week.